Okay, so now we're going to start on some of the under details, like the under blushing and the lips and those kind of things. We need to start our base layers on those before we can do some more of the color details. So I'm going to start on the lips. Let me see if I can zoom this in anymore so you can see her little lips come to life. This is the same color I used for the modeling. I'm just going to use a thicker version of it. I'm going to take some of the paint that's wet in the jar, and I'm going to pull it out and re-moisten some of the drier stuff that's stuck on the lid. Okay, so for the lips, on this cutie, we start and do half of the lips at a time. So we're going to start at the center and kind of draw a little edging line just on one part of the lips. I'm going to take my little flat brush that's small and pointy, and I'm going to gently grab that paint and pull it down towards the center of her mouth, blending it and smoothing it as I go. The paint may not reach all the way down, but that's okay. We're just doing the edging at this point. So there's one side of her lip done. And we'll do the other side. Right, you can see the top part of her lips. And because I'm right-handed, I like to flip her over to do the bottom lines. And I just do kind of the center and very carefully. She's really little, so you don't want to get too close to the edge. I just touched the top lip, and I didn't want to have to do that, so we're going to have to play a little cleanup, taking off the excess paint so it doesn't leave a smeary mess. And then tapping it gently to help blend it and smooth it into the bottom lip. Her bottom lip isn't quite full enough, so I'm going to fix this little uneven part right there. There we go. This is the under layer, it's not the whole layer of lips, so we don't want to stick it all on in one go, because then you can't do the shading and the color variations that you can do if you build it up slowly. So there's the under lips. Now we're going to do a little bit of some of the shading and creases to draw some depth on the face. So we're going to do a tiny little dot up each nostril. For this blending, I'm going to use, she's super tiny, so I'm just going to use a little tiny brush and then just gently tap that spot so it absorbs any pooling of the paint. Again, we're going to just tap that. So she has a little bit of crease depth up her nose. We're going to do a little bit around the nasal flanges. I'm going to come back to this brush and gently tap that down and blend it in to create the shading around the nose. This creates the depth on her face so she doesn't look so two-dimensional. Already her little nose pops out a little better. Okay, so now we're going to do a little bit around her eyes. Starting with the top eyelid. Just kind of outline it like I would an eyeliner. And gently tap that down and blend it in so that there's not a giant line or a finished start line. You don't want anything to ever really look like there's a solid line, so you need to have it blended and softened around the edges. So we're going to do the top of the second eye, and then we'll flip her over and do the bottom lids. That one isn't as dark as the first one, so I'm going to go a little bit darker on it so that they can match more. Alright, so that makes them match a little bit better. Okay, so now we're going to do the bottom eyelid, and you have to be careful with the bottoms because if you put too much red underneath, it makes them look like they've been crying. So we just want a little bit red, but not so much that it makes it look like she's been in distress or she has a fever or something's wrong with her medically. No allergies for this poor baby. Alright, so her eyes are outlined, her nose is outlined, her lips have the under layers on it. Now we're going to turn to her ears. We're going to get some more paint pulled in here and moisten up some more of this darker color. We're going to start at the bottom of her ears and make that part the darkest where it looks like it's the ear canal going into her head. Again, gently tap it. You don't want to take away too much paint. You want to leave as much there as possible. You just want to blend in the edges and make it smooth. And then we're going to pull it up into the shallow parts that would naturally be a little more red. I'm going to move to a bigger brush so it's not quite so finicky on the little one. Alright, so 2 layers are there. We're going to come into this little dip. And by blending, I never really wipe when I blend. I just kind of push down on the brush, and the bristles themselves kind of smear it out the paint and make it so that it blends naturally. And up here I want to be the lightest, so I want more wet paint. We don't want it to be so dark that it looks super red. If there's too much paint on your brush, just wipe it off onto your work towel. Alright, so that creates the depth inside of her ear. There's one more spot right up here that I'm going to put a little touch in there so that I can finish off all the deepest bits. Alright, so that creates the depth on that ear. And we're going to repeat that on this side. Start with a pointy brush down in the deep spots. I don't want to smear that paint over the top of that lip. You can see that there's kind of a rise right there, and if I smear that too much, it's going to become one space just because of the shading, and I don't want to do that, so we're going to leave that be as much as possible. Again, only shading the deepest parts of the ear canal. And again, that last little tippity part up here. Alright, so that's the under layers of the blushing. So I'm going to do one more crease down here just to get it started. Just the crease of her neck. It looks like some of her paint washed off or wiped off right there, so I'm going to have to do some touch-ups and give her another layer of modeling right there and tidy that up a bit so it doesn't look like she's been rubbed raw. I'll do that real quick, assuming I can find my modeling sponge. My daughter's cats have a bad habit of stealing my sponges. They actually really, truly might have taken them far, far away. So we may never see those ones again. Let's see if I can find another set. We'll use this one. It's not as small as the last one. Okay. So I'm going to try to touch up that spot just to give it enough color to make it look like it wasn't damaged. Right there. So that was the layer of pink. It's a little bit more pink than it should be. So now we're going to go back to the white and the purple and do a layer of both of those on top as well.